Good evening and welcome to our March Matters education session focused on standardised injury reporting. I'd like to welcome and thank Emily and Hamza from the Revolutionise team for taking us through the session tonight and presenting the tool that sits within Revolutionise. Capturing injuries in a standard format at all levels, reported by competition bodies, clubs, associations, at state and national championships is the key to us during 2022, building a baseline of injury statistics that we hope in time will potentially reduce injuries, reduce insurance premiums, suggest safety equipment, suggest potential rule changes, and remove that perennial comment that hockey is a dangerous game. Who is getting injured? How old? What gender? How they're getting injured? Where they're getting injured? Knowledge only built through the gathering of this information. So thanks to the Revolutionise team, and I look forward to this presentation.
Thank you, David. So as mentioned, today we'll be focusing on injury reporting. We'll talk to some of the best practices and how you can utilize the feature for your organization. Injury reporting is important. As David mentioned, we all love sports and it's a great way to move about and have fun, stay healthy. But with any sport, you are prone to get injured. As such, it is quite critical that you have the right processes in place to properly manage any injuries that occur and ensure that the right documentation is available. So you can keep track of injuries, and this can be quite handy for insurance purposes as well. So this can all be managed through the RevSport Injury Reports feature, which was designed with the help of Sports Medicine Australia to include all the metadata of an injury. So I will now begin sharing my screen and cover the feature in more detail. So what you are currently seeing is the admin portal of revolutioniseSPORT. We will have a list of our main features on the left-hand side listed here. And as you can see, injury reports is one of those features. To add an injury report is quite simple. You simply click on injury reports and add report. And once there, you'll be presented with a form where you are able to enter in all the details that is possible for an injury report. But before you do, we recommend that you get the consent from the individuals involved, as sometimes the records involved can be quite sensitive and include medical records, and this can help prevent liability in the future. Once you have that consent, you can see that you're able to identify the individual that is involved in the injury, regardless of whether they are a member of the organization, a non-member of the organization, or if they wish to remain anonymous, you can simply list them as undisclosed. In addition to that, you are also able to specify the date and time of the injury and also the venue as well. And one of the cool things here is that you're able to link an injury report to an incident that has already occurred. So for example, if there is a conflict that has occurred on a field where player A attacks player B and there's an incident report lodged against player 1, you can also lodge this injury report for player B against that incident as well. So there are quite a few extensive options here. I won't go through all of them in detail, but I do want to highlight that you are able to, first off, record the manner of injury that has occurred. So how did the injury occur? Did the individual collide with a fixed object? Did they collide with another person? Or as per my example above, were they struck by another player? So we have a few options that you are able to choose from here. In addition to that, you are able to add in further description or notes that you have taken of the injury. For example, if you are not on the scene and this was referred by someone else, you can add in the details of the individual that was there. If initial treatment of the injury was given on the scene, you are able to indicate which individual gave that injury by simply searching up their name here. And if that particular injury that occurred was referred for additional care, for example, the individual had to go see a medical practitioner, or the ambulance was called and the individual was taken to hospital, you're able to record that against this particular injury report as well. And then you're also able to identify the action that occurred immediately after this injury. For example, the player was injured, but they decided to return to activity, or the player was injured, you thought they could return to activity, but the player did not, or you recommended that the individual goes to the doctor or recommended they go to the hospital, you're able to record that all here as well. You're also able to indicate whether the injury that has occurred required the ongoing management by a medical professional. So whether that particular individual has to go see a medical practitioner on a weekly basis, or a physiotherapist, or just needs to go to a sports trainer for rehab purposes as well. One of the other things you're able to do here is within a particular injury report, if it has progressed to an insurance claim, you're simply able to tick this box and enter in the insurance information and provide that to the individual's insurance company, and that can all be done through the injury reports feature, and you don't need to do this externally. Further to that, not only are you able to take injury reports, but you're also able to report further on the particular type of injury that has occurred for an individual. For example, you are able to select a body part, and one of the cool things here is that the injury details are updated dynamically based on the body part that you have selected. For example, if I select mouth and lips, you can see that the tissues affected has been updated to skin and soft tissues, which are found on the mouth and lips. For example, if I select upper arm, the tissues affected will be updated to all the similar tissues that are located on the upper arm as well. And you are not only able to add one injury, you're able to add multiple injuries to a single injury report, as when an individual gets injured, it's most likely it's not just one part of the body that is injured, but multiple parts of the body are affected here as well. And one thing I do want to highlight as well is that with an injury report, you can mark it as open or closed. An open report indicates that it is still an ongoing report, injury report, and the injury hasn't as of yet been dealt with. For example, it has progressed to an insurance claim that is under investigation, or for example, the member has to go see a physiotherapist for a couple of weeks there as well. And setting the injury report as a closed status is exactly what it sounds like, which means that the injury and everything related to it has been tied off, and the record is retained for historical and auditing purposes as well. Just want to mention that with closed reports, you are still able to modify them and reopen them if necessary as well. So now that you know how to add that injury report, what are some of the cases that you would need to use this? Well, any admin can add an injury report, granted that they have access to the injury reports feature. So, for example, you might want to grant a coach or a team official granular access to the injury report feature, which they can fill out on game day, competition day, or on team practices as an injury occurs in real time. Now that you have added in a few injury reports, the next thing you might want to do is run a search on the injuries that have occurred within your organization. You are able to run extensive searches based on your specific criteria. For example, if you are searching for a specific term, for example, you might just type head, and any type of head injury that has occurred within your organization will return in your search criteria as well. Or you might want to run a simple search where you want to search for all open injuries from a particular date for all your anonymous members that has progressed to an insurance case. You also have the option of doing that. So you're able to run injury reports based on your specific search criteria here as well. And one of the cool things within the injury reports feature is that everything I have just described in terms of adding a report is also available in a documentation format for you as well. So you might be wondering, why would I use a document to record my injuries if I can already do it online via the feature? Well, this can be useful to have on two occasions. For the first one, obviously being if you're going to a region where where you won't have access to internet, it might be handful to have a couple of these on hand, and you can just fill it in if an injury occurs. And when you go home or do have access to the internet, you can simply put in all that data on the platform. Another reason why this might be useful is that if a injury occurs and the ambulance is called, you are able to provide this form to the medical practitioner on screen, and they can fill this out for you, and then you can just re-enter this data onto the injury reports feature. So another thing I wanted to highlight is the statistics page. This is a really cool page, and it's one of my favorite pages within the injury report section, as it's able to show you an aggregated distribution of all the prevalent injuries that has occurred within your organization, with white being the lowest amount of injuries occurring, and red being the highest amount of injury occurring. And this is based on the injury reports that you have lodged, and you are able to use this data to make informed decisions moving forward. For example, recently our local water polo club notices that they had a high rate of ankles and knees injuries, and upon further investigation by running an injury report search, they were able to discover that the injuries occurred due to their members running by the poolside and tripping and falling. With that information, they introduced measures to have more padding introduced to the poolside, so that when a member does fall, they are protected from any serious injury. And they have also implemented more wet floor signs, just letting members know that this area is wet. Please tread carefully here as well. With that being said, another part of injury is that you're able to link it to a specific team-based competition. To do that, you won't do that within injury reports. You simply go on competitions and go to the manage match reports page of your particular game or competition that you're viewing, and you are able to create a new injury report by clicking Add Injury Report, which will automatically will be linked to the competition or game that has competition and game that has been progressed, or you are able to link an existing incident or injury report to this particular game or competition, and just simply clicking on Link Report. Now that I've shown you injury reports, you're probably wondering, how is this data viewed by your national body, Hockey Australia? Well, the answer to that question is that the Hockey Australia will be able to view the statistics page within their portal, and they'll be able to view how and where, which part of the bodies are injuries most prevalent within their states and organizations, but they will not be able to view, the particular member that this injury report came from, the individual, the injury report, and all that information. So all of that is anonymous, and Hockey Australia, for example, will only be able to see the aggregate data, and it's not possible for them to discern individual members or organization details just from the injury report. With that being said, to recap, with the injury reports feature, you are able to manage and track injuries and medical information, maintain records for insurance purposes, and then, as mentioned once again, your national body will be able to view the aggregate data and to see trends of injuries within your particular sports. So that's the end. That's our injury reports feature in a nutshell.